So I'm wondering, Peter, we're talking about, their autonomy. Brings to mind, the other adults we were talking about being in their world. Parents is a great issue, isn't it? So is it the case there that you're saying that as a primary child would need parental permission to enter into such a contract?
Well, I think that's the working assumption that if we move into the whole area of who gives permission, if you like, for children and young people to become involved in counselling and therapy, because obviously children and young people are by definition dependent upon adults and other caretakers in their lives. And the impact of the Gillick decisions, certainly with young people under the age of 16 in England and Wales and under statute in Scotland, I think has opened up the door to offering confidential counselling to young people under the age of 16. And certainly that's the view of the Children's Legal Centre, and that's, I think, been widely understood and practised since the mid-1980s. What Gillick doesn't clarify is what is the lowest age, if you like, that a young person can have this mysterious quality of sufficient understanding. It's interesting we don't apply this test to adults. But
yes,
there
we go. Indeed.
But the rule of thumb, I think, for many therapists has been that it's unlikely that a child in primary school would have this sufficient understanding, if we translate that to mean in terms of, say, Piaget's schema, that this would be what is called abstract thinking, the ability to be able to look at something from another person's point of view, to anticipate the consequences of your own actions, to be able to look at it in the round rather than simply from this is me and this is how I feel and this is what I want. So the issue of parental involvement or permission, I think, becomes much more relevant working with children in primary school. But there is, as a recent legal decision, would actually turn some of that on its head. And this is, surprisingly, is the case of Naomi Campbell. She's an unlikely heroine when it comes to confidentiality and therapeutic work. But Naomi Campbell won a very important case in the House of Lords. You might remember she was photographed coming out of Narcotics Anonymous meeting by the Daily Mirror. And she sued for breach of privacy. And she won her case, and essentially the case was that her attending a therapy session was a private matter. Now, this is really interesting because you could use that piece of case law, which comes from the Human Rights Act, to argue that for a child or a young person, attending counselling is also a private matter.